Orange Nebula is a group of people with dreams that are like bigger than their arms can hold.
Orange Nebula at its root started as a design agency, and we did branding and marketing and advertising.
And then over the years, increasingly wanted to be making things for ourselves.
At one point, a board game was developed, and we shifted our focus into designing products like board games, toys,
collectibles, music,
podcasts, and books.
We like making things that are two-dimensional and pretty. We like making three-dimensional pretty objects.
And we've really stepped up our t-shirt design game in the last year.
We work together doing just the excruciating and fulfilling work of creating worlds.
all kind of with this purpose of building community, inspiring people to unlock themselves and their own creativity, and challenging them to think a little bit differently.
We're trying to create things that bring people together.
And we find that these worlds are attracting people who want to engage with the world and want to represent the world. And I think they're there because they also have dreams that are just bigger than their arms can hold.
It is not blowing smoke or hyperbole to say that the community and focus on the community is truly at the heart of the purpose of this team.
There is a community focus that we have really protected, and we covet the ideas that come out in the collaborations that we have with the people in our community.
I feel like we try to inspire people to tap into their own creativity. One of my favorite things about a campaign in general is seeing what kind of creations people make out of the prompts that we give them, or even that they're inspired by looking at the new art.
We are wanting to make things that inspire the community to reach for something more, either in their own experience with the game, whether that means bringing their own creativity to it,
Trying to sketch out Luna or paint a mini or
just in what they can reasonably expect in something, the amount of depth or thought or intention behind a creation.
like I feel like we make it a very open environment to try a new thing.
To bring themselves, bring their ideas and their thoughts and the things that they're thinking about into the conversation.
Somehow the Orange Nebula community shows up in a way every time that surprises me. Kind of a guiding thread between the Orange Nebula community is everyone's desire to have impact.
Our community is really, really driven by being creative and engaging in games and mechanisms and the way things look and the way things feel and how small they are and all the little nuances of it.
On Discord, there have been several people who post things that they're working on. There is such an encouraging community on there that's like offering suggestions or like singing their praises.
Within Orange Nebula and within the people who are in our community, we care about how we think and how we act and what we do and how we treat people. And I think that's a guiding thread that pulls us all together in the Orange Nebula community.
I think it is safe to say for pretty much anyone working in a creative field that you have a really personal connection to the work that you're doing.
Or at least it comes from a deeply personal place.
It has to feel like a reflection of something that they would do for themselves.
It really deepens the connection, not only that we have to the work, because we feel like we are personally represented by the things we've created, but it also has this sort of like weird bonding, connective experience with the other people on the team.
The fact that we collaborate so much
Is like a refining fire.
we build on top of each other. Just by saying it out loud, it will spark a different idea from somebody else to add to it or change it.
They kind of springboard off of each other, our ideas, their ideas, and it just makes a kind of a refinement of the process.
Because I say, here's a piece of me, and you say, here's a piece of you, and then those things come together to become a thing that none of us could have made on our own, but that each of us is really present in.
What often comes out of that extreme amount of work and focus and sanding down of an idea is this pearl of truth at the bottom of every Orange Nebula product. We call it a sacred concept.
With each Orange Nebula project, we, as part of our design principles, identify a sacred concept that serves as a sort of touchstone heart of the project.
And usually that concept comes from a deeper place.
It's one sentence, it's one statement. And when we agree upon that as a team, when it comes to a product, we find truth in our work.
We sort of bypass the age-old board game design question of what comes first, theme or mechanics, by basically ignoring that and saying what comes first is the sacred concept, and then everything is born out of that. From there, once we've identified that, that thing gets to be the thing that not only births ideas, but also culls them. Any idea, even if it's a good one, that doesn't hit on this core idea gets thrown out, and it just sort of helps be this guiding light through the design process for us. With Vindication, the sacred concept was honor. With Vestige, the sacred concept is this idea of leverage, which to me, I've always approached as almost like the idea of ingenuity in your space.
To utilize every little scrap that's available to you in this game.
There's been some advanced technology and people are looking for scraps of it and stuff like that. They're also looking to survive.
Finding ways to turn situations and resources and circumstances to give them an advantage in the world, even though they're not necessarily things that are our ideal, but there is a way to twist it and turn it and change it so that it does create an opportunity for you. And so everything in the game is born out of that kind of premise. And that is true not only of the game mechanics, but also in the narrative of what's happening in the game.
When the forces that be are trying to push you down and make you feel insignificant, you have a million different things that you can do for your survival and to push back against everything that's trying to drag you down. Use everything at your disposal to not just survive, but to thrive. Vestige is a big step forward for Orange Nebula in that it's not a giant, complicated monster of a game.
All of our projects to date have been very big, very expensive. They exist for a certain segment of the board game audience, but there is a large portion of the board game community where an Orange Nebula project just isn't accessible to them.
Our engineering challenges with this game were to make it very accessible with a smaller footprint, with a smaller box so that it doesn't take up as much room on the shelf. It's easier to bring out, quicker to play.
It's more compact, it's really easy to ship, it's portable to take with you. It takes the gameplay that everybody likes from Vindication without the fluff.
With Vestige, we're taking concepts from Vindication and we're asking ourselves, is this good enough on its own to survive? Should the game continue living with this, or would the game be better without it?
For those of you that are worried, there is new stuff in Vestige too. Subversion is a real exciting new mechanic. It takes what people know from Vindication, the trigger points for endgame triggers, and we're adding other cards to it. These cards are subversion cards, and what happens is when you trigger this, you flip over this card and the game fights back in a certain way. It has some requirement now that you have to do, but now you have a new goal, something you have to solve, because if you don't, at the end of the game is going to take advantage of that, and you'll either lose leverage or it'll win if it's an opponent.
I'm really excited about the world building that we're doing.
The world of Vestige is so much different than anything that Orange Nebula has created before.
On the surface level, this sort of like cyberpunk dystopian end of the world thing is like, okay. But the actual story that we've built around that and a lot of the world building of what's happening in this game and why feels really distinctive to me. As someone who reads so much science fiction and fantasy, this has a lot of ideas that really excite me and interest me.
I mean, I just dive so deep into that stuff and love seeing how we're referencing that in the little tiny details of the card art.
And I'm really excited to see if and how the community tries to start piecing together some of the lore Easter eggs that we've sort of filtered throughout the game. What are these groups, and what are their relationships, and what's this history, and why are these two different histories in conflict with each other? How does that come about?
Nemesis, that's actually what I'm working on right now, and I'm really excited about Nemesis cards because, well, for one thing, it's just gonna create a new element for solo play. What we want is we want you to be able to play this game against the game where that's like your opponent. You're going to play with the same mechanics that you would with normal Vestige, but the game is, in a sense, throwing things at you that you have to just dodge or you have to take as a new challenge, solve something. The other exciting part about Nemesis cards, it's not for just solo play. You could throw them in with multiple players. You could throw them in playing collaboratively with other players. So yeah, it's going to add a lot to the game.
We have worked really hard on this one to create a really accessible Orange Nebula game. So it's an opportunity for someone who has been really curious about Orange Nebula projects, but couldn't really take that plunge to engage with what we do, but in a way that is accessible to them. And that is particularly exciting to me, this idea of expanding the community and making doorways for more people to come in.
And so if you're going to take a shot at a company you haven't, you're not familiar with or you haven't backed before, this is the perfect opportunity for that, because it's a minimal investment with a tremendous amount of game mechanics and game engineering that has gone into it, with some award-winning systems that we've built. They're kind of already proven.
Because this game is so accessible, there's never been a better opportunity to join the Orange Nebula community.
We want legitimately, truly, to create a place, a community, a series of projects where people come and they want to plant their flag in what we're doing and saying, yeah, this represents me. This feels like me. This is the type of thing that I want to wave and say, this is what I'm about.
We think bigger, we think deeper, we do more intentionally, and it's fun. It's not even so serious as that. It's fun.
That's what we're doing with the work. And the hope is that the community has the same experience when they engage with it.
And to anybody new to the community, welcome.
You're welcome here. This is a place of like-minded people that get excited about games and pop culture.
We show up and we laugh and we argue and we leave knowing more about ourselves and each other because of the experience that we have.
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for supporting passion projects by small creators like ourselves. We believe so passionately in what we're doing, and it is humbling every time that you show up and support these things.
Whether that's playing a game, whether that's on a live stream, whether that's in Discord.
We can't promise to be perfect, but we can promise that you're going to get all of our best efforts and all of our best intentions and all of our passion, and you're getting all of us, for better or worse, whatever that is. You can trust that we care about you immensely, and we care about your experience immensely, and just genuinely thank you.